What's up, y'all? Shout out to Beg and Megan, already over there running his mouth. It doesn't take you long, does it, Beg and Megan? You just can't help it. I hope you don't go MIA after September the 4th. You know, when Clemson ruins your season before Labor Day. That may happen. Justin Hall joins us here momentarily. He's from the Fifth Quarter Postgame Show. Covers the Gamecocks. We'll talk about their matchup and what to expect. We'll see from there. Yeah, there you go with that. Welcome back to the Rundown on Fox Sports Radio 1400 around the world on the iHeartRadio app. My name is Rob Sanders. Thanks for joining us today. Jess Gisha online says, yeah, Joe Milton is the Tennessee quarterback. You know, at this point, I'm beginning to think that, there's going to be a lot of quarterbacks that may not play much this weekend. And I'm going to talk about that with Justin Hall here in just a moment. He joins us from the Fifth Quarter Postgame Show. We'll talk with him here in just a little bit. But that's something that's interesting, too. Wyatt Online goes, what are the odds that Clemson beats Georgia by 21? He's asking for a friend. I don't think it's going to be 21 points. I think the Bulldogs can play some defense, and I think it's first game stuff, too. So you got to think about that. I'm not buying Kirby Smart. The Georgia fans get upset by it. The only people who really are in the Kirby Smart camp are the Georgia fans. I mean, that's pretty much what it boils down to, and they're kind of stuck with it. You got to defend your coach. I stand by what I said last week. If he wins this game on Saturday, it's the biggest win of his career. The Oklahoma matchup, they were the better team than Oklahoma. They were supposed to win that game. Now, of course, Georgia fans don't want to hear that either, but that's all right. But we'll break down some of the SEC this weekend here in just a little bit. 803-978-1832. Let's go out to the phones. And welcome into the Rundown. Good afternoon.
I wish it was a good afternoon. You've pretty much spoiled that.
It's a wonderful afternoon, sir. Life is what you make it, my friend.
You know, to quote the great Xander Kelly from the American classic Joe Dirt, you really are an underachievement nexus of the universe, sir.
Explain why I'm an underachiever, sir.
The lazy take you've got on Kirby Smart just beats all. It really does. I tell you what, let's play a short little game of true and false here.
Okay.
True or false? He actually has a better record in his first 5 years than both Dabo and Nick Saban.
I don't understand what that has to do with anything, but I believe that is true. I'd have to check.
Okay, that was a long true, but the answer is true.
I'm taking your word for it. I mean, there are things that you could say that could be wrong. I'm taking your word for it. We're kosher with each other, right? If you're telling me that's what it is, then I believe you.
Okay. And you've said many times he's won nothing. Georgia's won nothing since 1980.
Right. Well, the reality is that they have national championship talent, but they don't win national titles.
Right. He also happens to be going up against the greatest coach in college football history. True or false?
Yeah, well, other coaches do well against him, too. Ed Orgeron kicked him in the face.
Do well?
Yeah, Orgeron has a game where he beat him. Dabo Swinney's won 2 out of the last 4 against him. I mean,
you just said Orgeron.
Kirby Smart's a better coach than Dabo Swinney, right?
You just said Orgeron had a game.
Yeah, Ed Orgeron. Not many people beat Nick Saban, sir.
You just doubled back on yourself there.
Right. I know what I said. I know what I said. I know exactly what I said.
Rob, look, you better hope. I mean, look, Georgia, we won't even talk about the injuries, but being Georgia, I'm not even talking about them. Being Georgia, they haven't won anything.
Give us the long list of the injuries. We got to get that out there because, last year it was we have a midget quarterback. This year it'll be we had so many injuries, and that's why we're 9-3 instead of 12-0. It's the same thing over and over and over again. It's like Sonny and Cher, singing "I Got You, Babe" on Groundhog Day. Same thing over and over and over again.
My point is, you better not lose to him. You've got this dumb coach who can't win anything, who wears this woman's visor.
He does wear a woman's golf visor. You're spitting facts, sir. These are the most facts you've ever spit in program history. Congratulations.
Rob, you better not lose this one.
I'm not playing.
There's no one. You know what I mean, Rob. There's no one in the land of YouTube or radio or any source of media who's dug a deeper hole for themselves should they lose this game. And I'm telling you right now, if you screw around, not you, your team, I'm sorry, and lose this game to this idiot of a head coach, you are going to be verbally assaulted to the likes of which you can't even. I tell you what, go ahead and Google grief counselor right now. Go ahead and get you a good one lined up, just in case.
I tell you
somehow
what,
this idiot of a coach.
I'm going to use a line from a famous coach that says that the opinions of people that I don't respect don't matter to me. So there you go with that. You can spew all that you want. Standing by what I said. It's be the biggest win of Kirby's career if he can get it this weekend. And I hope so for you, because there's not enough beer on the planet. I don't know if they have enough beer to satisfy that.
Once again, your dime store, Danny Cannell. It's the same old playbook. You've got nothing original to say. Sure. 1980, Blondie, blah blah blah. How is Georgia 14? How are we 42-18 versus you if we're such a terrible team?
I don't understand what you're talking about that. But if you're talking about Clemson's record against Georgia, once again, when I give you facts upon that, they don't play every season. Majority of those 42 wins came before 1974.
Okay,
I mean, we can go back and forth all day, sir. You can't win here. You can't win here, sir.
You better hope so. You better hope I can't win. I'm just telling you right now.
I think this.
Get your Kleenex.
I expect you to call on Friday to get your parting shots in, and then I'd expect to not hear from you until July of next year. I think that's what's going to happen.
That would be the best case scenario for you, sir. Because if you hear from, I got news for you. I may very well be in the parking lot should you mess around, not you, your team, and lose to this idiot of a head coach. You've got no business losing this game, Rob.
No. The pressure's not on Clemson at all. Let's make sure we put that out there. Georgia has the top 3 talent, man. Look at your roster.
Tell yourself whatever you've got to.
Okay, buddy.
The pressure's not on Georgia. Isn't Clemson favored to win?
Clemson is favored by 4 points.
Sure. So you just double back on yourself again.
No, sir. See,
we're the underdog.
Yeah, and you should be.
That's what I'm saying to you. You better hope to God you don't mess around, your team, mess around and lose this game. It's going to be bad. I'm just warning you.
I don't. If people want to spar at me, if I don't value their opinion, it doesn't matter. Simple as that.
Oh, I think you're downplaying valuing my opinion, to be honest with you, sir. I thought you quite a bit this offseason.
That's okay. And I look forward to talking with you. It's nice to talk with folks who don't really know much about the game of Hut Hut. It's okay. I'm all right with that.
Okay. Well, I'm entering the pick'em contest, and we'll see. We'll see who doesn't know anything about football.
Well,
How about that?
I never do bad in that pick'em contest. I finished in the top 8 for 7 years in a row. So
okay, how many people were in it last time? 9?
48 last year.
Yeah, I got to see that to believe it.
Okay, well, you can see that right with the box score of Georgia getting poked this weekend. So we'll put that together for you. All right.
Give you a ring later, Rob.
Thank you, man. Appreciate it. Megan joining the show. We appreciate him. We are going to have Justin Hall from the Fifth Quarter Postgame Show joining us in just a moment, right here on the Rundown on Fox Sports Radio 1400. I'm not buying that jackpot. I looked it up, jackpot. This is Rob. Hey, man. Hey, I've got my guests on the line. I'll take calls in just a bit, okay? Thanks, man. I researched it, Caden. Top 10, top 8, doesn't matter. Hey, Justin, it's Rob. How are you, man? Ready to knock it out? All right, and I apologize for earlier. My computer gave me the old snake hoop. Hold on, okay? Hold on. I will not sit back and let you mock Carolina Jackpot there, Texas T-Sip Central. You got to explain that nickname to me. That is interesting. And Jackpot, if you want to be a Georgia fan, we'll get you a Georgia tube top with some bedazzles on it. You want to be a Georgia fan, have at it, buddy. We can do that for you. Get your little bedazzled tube top. That'd be awesome. Hook you up, man. The Georgia fans won't be coming back to the show after this weekend. We're going to have like a dip. We'll have more Clemson fans that'll come in to laugh at them. They'll come to see them crying, but then they'll go away. The Georgia fans won't be back. SEC Dog will not be back. He's ran his mouth enough. That's fair too there, RMF Tide. But they'll lean on, well, he has to coach against Nick Saban. They don't play Georgia every year. They don't play Alabama every year. Chris will be here. I'll give Chris that. Win or lose, he'll be here. Jackpot's not working today. Ah, okay. I got you. That might be true. Let me highlight that for Jimmy because I don't think that Facebook comments show up here. Jimmy says the best matchup, the UGA offensive line versus the Clemson defensive line. Burp, burp, burp. Welcome back to the Rundown on Fox Sports Radio 1400. Out to the hotline we go. I want to welcome in from the fifth quarter post-game show my co-host and friend over there, Mr. Justin Hall. Justin, what's going on, buddy?
Oh, just excited for football season. It is officially game week, and we are just getting inundated with all the rumors and the wonders about what can happen on Saturday nights. It's a good thing we're back.
It is a good thing to have football season get underway here. Of course, let's talk a little bit about the South Carolina matchup with Eastern Illinois. It's not really a good matchup. Eastern Illinois is 6-36 against FBS teams. They're 0-1 against the SEC. They got a loss to Arkansas. They lost by 35, I believe it was, to Arkansas in 2018. This is the perfect tune-up game for Shane Beamer before they head to East Carolina. Would you agree?
Right. You say it's not a great matchup, but when it comes to South Carolina, the scheduling couldn't be any better. You consider last year you had Tennessee. The year before that you had North Carolina. So this worked out perfectly if you're a Gamecock fan because you don't have to worry about a team that's equally as talented as you or, in the worst case, more talented than you, playing you on your opening weekend with a new coaching staff, with probably a backup quarterback, probably a backup running back that you're trying to get healthy for week 2. It is the perfect opportunity for South Carolina to drum up some excitement, for Shane Beamer to put up some points in his first game as head coach. And really, it's a good opportunity for fans to get to know this coaching staff in the games. We now know them behind the podium, but what do they do in the game? Who's on the sideline? Who's in the box? What do we hear from them after a game? I think all of that will be more important than the actual final score because I think everyone has South Carolina winning, but it's what happens in the game with the coaching staff that I'm really interested in.
Well, speaking of which, do you think we will see Kevin Harris or Luke Doty play at all this weekend?
I wouldn't think so, unless they're 100%. If they're 100%, then we see them playing. But if either one of them is any less than 90%, I know Marcus Satterfield, the new offensive coordinator, said, I believe last week, that he is not playing Luke Doty if he's anything less than 100%. So I don't believe you see Luke Doty. There's a chance you could see Kevin Harris, but why not just give the ball to Marshawn Lloyd, Zaquandre White, Juju McDowell, Rashad Amos, and just tote the load for about 300, maybe even 400 yards, and get out of there with a win. Let Zeb Nolan or Jason Brown or whoever, Colton Gaultier, is on the field. I assume we'll see all three quarterbacks. Keep your main starters that you know are starters off the field. Get them healthy. Get them ready for East Carolina, which I believe is the most important game of the first 3 of the season, is that East Carolina game in week 2.
Do you think if a Zeb Nolan comes out and throws for 300 yards against Eastern Illinois, that we've kind of developed a quarterback controversy?
Oh, that's a great question. Yes, because, and here's why I say this. I know that the coaches have said that Luke Doty is the starter, and we all understand that there will then be the detractors that say, well, it's Eastern Illinois. And I understand that. But when you throw for 300 yards, if he comes out and puts up numbers and the wide receivers are catching the ball, because I believe that's where you, Pops, and I have really had some conversations in the postgame show last year. The wide receivers just weren't catching the football. If they can catch the football, if there seems to be some chemistry there, then there's a chance we could see a 2-quarterback system on September the 11th against East Carolina. I think there's a competition simply because Luke Doty hasn't shown a whole lot in the 2 games he started last year. It was minimal. And so we don't know really the kind of quarterback he is. So if Zeb Nolan comes out and lights the world on fire, then I certainly think it's warranted to go, well, wait a minute. Well, what about this guy? I think the storyline is interesting on that. But again, it all depends on the numbers on Saturday.
Should be an interesting matchup on that front as far as who's going to get more carries, who's going to throw the ball around, etc. But, we talk about the wide receivers that have been lacking for South Carolina. South Carolina's had issues at linebacker. I mean, Coach Eric Wilson's been on the show with us and or on the show with me here, and he's talked about the Gamecocks are just really, really lacking in the linebacker department. But do you think they can compensate this year with some great defensive linemen that on paper are highly recruited?
I think that's an interesting point, Rob. Everyone wants to talk about the offense and everyone wants to talk about the quarterback position and the wide receivers. But you look at this defense that got absolutely shredded last year in the later half of the season. We all remember the Ole Miss game and Lane Kiffin tossing his play sheet in the air twice, which ultimately ended the Will Muschamp era for South Carolina and put the nail in the coffin. The defensive line is going to be the biggest point. You return J.J. Enagbare. You bring in Jordan Strachan, who led the FBS in sacks last year. You have Jordan Birch. You have Zach Pickens. You have Alex Huntley. You're running a 4-2-5 scheme under new defensive coordinator Clayton White. You want to be able to generate pressure to take the pressure off of your back seven because the linebacker position is pretty unproven. And certainly the secondary, you lost 2 of your best guys you've had in the last 3 years, and your defense was still really bad last year. So creating that cohesive unit starts with the front 4 to make something happen on the front end of this defense, to apply pressure and force quarterbacks into bad throws. And momentum begets momentum. And when you have a 2-linebacker system, those guys can become more of just extra secondary guys when it comes to the passing games. You've got to generate a pass rush. That's one number I'm looking at on Saturday. How many sacks are generated by the South Carolina defensive front?
That's going to be one of the more interesting things there. And how's the secondary going to do? I mean, with the 4-2-5 set, I mean, you're kind of putting that extra defensive back out there and kind of leaning on a secondary where you really don't have a lot of depth.
You really don't. I think that's the 4-2-5 scheme. South Carolina fans drool over it because of Ellis Johnson. So I believe it's a system that works, and I believe you can recruit it well at South Carolina. The big part is right now you don't have depth. I mean, you lose Karan Prunty, who was transferring in from Kansas, who was considered one of the top transfers in the country. He now transfers out, wants to get out of the program and I guess be closer to home, personal reasons, and that's all well and good. Cam Smith is in a boot, or he was in a boot. He's trying to get healthy. Do we see him on Saturday? Again, how much do you take away from this Saturday against Eastern Illinois? I don't know. Certainly, you don't take away a whole lot if it's a really good matchup. I think we take more away if things go south and you're struggling to get a win. This secondary is going to have to grow trial by fire. And what better way than these first 2 games, Eastern Illinois, then you step up the competition against East Carolina, which appears to be more of a on par with you type of game. And then, of course, Georgia the week following. So the secondary at least has a little bit of time to integrate into the season. But again, it all goes back to the front 4. If the front 4 can get pressure, that's going to help these guys in the secondary stay with their man. Once the play breaks down, that's when South Carolina fans need to be worried. Hopefully this defensive staff has simplified the game plan enough for this secondary to make some plays.
Should be the beginning of the Shane Beamer era, of course, this weekend with South Carolina welcoming in Eastern Illinois. Let's talk about a couple of other games before we get you out of here, Justin Hall from the Fifth Quarter Postgame Show on our sister station, 103.5 FM WVOC. The matchup that I think is one of the more interesting ones this weekend, we'll get to Clemson and Georgia in a moment, but Texas and Louisiana. Sarkisian is trying to put his stamp on that Texas program, but the line on that game started at like 16.5. Now it's down to 8. What a big swing in a line there where the folks in Las Vegas are starting to get behind the Raging Cajuns.
And I think that's a thing to keep an eye on. Of course, with Hurricane Ida, that's going to be an even more interesting game and how Louisiana preps. You do have Billy Napier still down there. Of course, Sarkisian starting his new regime in Texas. Who is Texas at this point? They have the name cachet.
They're like Tennessee. They're coming back. We hear that every year. Texas is
every
coming back.
Single year.
Tennessee's coming back. Georgia's going to win the national title. All these things we hear every single year. Same thing over and over.
And none of them ever pan out.
They certainly don't.
And none of them ever pan out. Texas comes in. What are they preseason ranked this year? I'm trying to look this up at the last minute to see what Texas is ranked. I don't have it in front of me. They're a top 25 team for whatever reason. So I think it's a prime opportunity for Louisiana. If I'm a betting man, and I am not, I would take Louisiana Lafayette to win outright because we don't know what this team's going to look like under Sarkisian. Sure, they'll be fast. It'll be up tempo. It'll be spread it out, throw the ball around. But Louisiana's a pretty good ball club. So I think there's a chance that they could go over to Darrell K. Royal and get a win on Saturday.
All right, and the final matchup we'll talk about is, of course, the Clemson-Georgia game, which on paper should be one of the more interesting matchups of the day. Talk to us a little bit about your opinion on the Bulldogs with the injuries that they have and how will that affect them in their matchup with the Tigers?
Georgia does have some issues when it comes to guys being out. And JT Daniels is still back as their starting quarterback. What's he going to do? He didn't show a whole lot last year, but of course, I don't know how much we can use from last season, it being the COVID year and such. Georgia's struggling with injuries. They're still going to be good. Georgia's always going to be a top 25 team, in my opinion. They just have top 25 talent, top 10 talent for that matter. And that might be to your point, Rob, about Kirby. They have top 10 talent, but I think they'll always be a top 15 team. Right now, I'd put Georgia probably 4th in the SEC, maybe even 5th, depending on how the dice falls. You look at Clemson, DJ Uiagalelei. I am 1 for 1 now on saying his name correctly. He's a bigger body. He's a bigger body than Trevor Lawrence. I think he adds a different aspect to the game that maybe you haven't seen offensively from Clemson, obviously since Deshaun Watson with a running mobile quarterback. I think this game is close. I think Georgia and Clemson always produce really good football games, so that's exciting. But for whatever reason, I think Clemson's going to pull away in the fourth quarter. I like Clemson by 13, maybe even 17 points late, just because there's some physicality with Clemson they can establish on the offensive side. Getting Justin Ross back is big for them offensively as well to score some points. Brent Venables' defense is going to have something to prove against that Georgia offense. I don't know much about Georgia's offense, to be totally frank with you. I do know that this is not an Aaron Murray type Georgia offense, in my opinion. So I like Clemson to win by 2 touchdowns on Saturday night.
I think that's a little bit steep, but I think that I do agree with you on the front that this offense isn't comparable to the last offenses that Clemson has faced that have lit the Tigers up in LSU and Ohio State. So for folks to say that JT Daniels can breathe the same air as those two quarterbacks is silly to me, but we'll find out on Saturday. I mean, that's basically what it boils down to. And of course, we'll be covering the Gamecocks this weekend, and you can find our coverage on 103.5 FM WVOC pregame to postgame. We will take you home this weekend. And of course, folks can follow you on Twitter as well, right?
They can, at Justin B. Hall on Twitter. It is football season, so it'll be mostly football content. But, of course, the Braves are in first place, so be prepared for some Atlanta Braves content. They open up with the Dodgers tonight, so be prepared for that. But, yeah, football all the time. I'll be tweeting throughout the games on Thursday night and, of course, all day on Saturday. First full day of college football is back, and couldn't be more excited about it.
10-10 start for the Braves tonight. Going to be needing some coffee tomorrow.
We'll hit the coffee early and often tomorrow morning to get me through my Tuesday, because after that Giants series win this week, we are feeling ourselves as Braves fans.
All right. Justin Hall, host of the Fifth Quarter Postgame Show on WVOC. Thanks a lot, man. We appreciate it.
Thanks, Rob. See you Saturday.
All right. There you go. Of course, you can enjoy Justin's stuff that we put together with Tim Frisbee. Great postgame show if you're into that kind of thing. So, quick break. When we come back, we'll wrap up today's episode of The Rundown right here on Fox Sports Radio 1400. The only people who think Georgia's worthwhile are the Georgia fans. Sorry. Most people can see through that lie that is Kirby Smart. I know Beggin' Megan has to, I think Beggin' Megan's got a Kirby Smart tube top with the bedazzles on it. We got to get Jackpot one of those. They could sit there together with the bedazzled tube top. It says, I'm a Georgia gal. Get you guys set up. It is great to have football season back. Tired of talking about, what's going to happen, what could happen. Ugh. Let's just get out there and play. That East Carolina game is the most interesting game in the first pretty much month for South Carolina, because I don't think very many people give them a chance against Georgia. He wants a pink Kirby visor with a peach on it. We have to find one for that bucket head of yours there, Jackpot. Oh, man. If I could find a pink Kirby Smart visor, I would buy that and drive it to Kale's house for the weekend. That would happen. Yeah, Texas is back. I wonder who's going to be the first fans to send a case of whiskey to Sarkeesian's house. We're live streaming the game, man. We're not gonna have the game, but we're doing like the watch along on Saturday. So I didn't say it, Beggin' Megan. Someone else did. You need to get out of your bubble, sir. Stop living in that bubble where George is the best ever. Maybe you're not as good as you think you are. It's okay. You guys can strive to get to the, the Outback Bowl. Going to the Outback Bowl is a good season for Georgia. Why not? We can get you. Hey, if you go to the Outback Bowl, I'll buy you tickets there, Beggin' Megan. How's that sound? I'll buy you tickets to the Outback Bowl if you guys go. What fun that would be. Welcome back to the Rundown on Fox Sports Radio 1400 around the world on the iHeartRadio app. My name is Rob Sanders. Final thing before we get out of here today is there is ESPN kind of looks stupid over the weekend, where they had a high school football game with IMG Academy playing Bishop Sycamore, which is a team from Ohio, on Sunday afternoon. IMG Academy won that game in a blowout, 58-0. Now, here's the weird part about this game. According to ESPN's announcers and multiple reports, the ESPN was basically duped by Bishop Sycamore. The possibly fake high school lied about its roster, and they played a game on Friday evening. So think about this. They played on Friday and then played again on Sunday. That is insane. And here's another interesting stat. They played a defender on Sunday that originally is a 2020 from Florida. Kid has reported over 24 fake offers, showed up once to a 7-on-7 tryout, and used a fake ID. His Huddle account is also fake, according to Andrew Ivins of 247 Sports. So basically, they played a team that's a charter school that basically gets together to play football, and God bless them for going out there and playing essentially the number one team in the country. But ESPN, that just goes to show you sometimes what you see on TV is not necessarily what you can hope for to be the best. What a gong show that is. What an absolute gong show. All right, coming up on the program this week, I'm working on getting someone that covers Eastern Illinois and someone on the Georgia beat on the program. We'll talk about the two matchups coming up this weekend. Also may have on the program Levon Kirkland, of course, the Clemson Hall of Famer, who is going most likely into the College Football Hall of Fame in the next class. He is up for it there, but we shall see. He should get in the mix there. We could have a Hall of Famer joining us on the program here before too long. Also on Friday, we will have our picks against the spread. Last week, as I said, I went 73%. I think that's pretty good. So there you go with that. Be sure to stick around for my picks against the spread on Friday. We picked those games last two segments of the show. I normally pick like 4 SEC games, 4 ACC games, and then 2 games from the Big Ten because they're only half the conference of those two, in my opinion. So that's how that goes. A couple of comments. Megan says it's not hard to dupe ESPN. Lee Corso did it for most of his life. Wow, that's harsh. I don't even know where to go with that. My buddy Lawton Swan of Clemson Sports Talk is next.
Stop looking at me, Swan.
He is the czar of Clemson Sports. Be sure to follow him at Clemson Sports on Twitter. Podcast for the show. If you missed some of it, I tell you what, it's very simple. Go and look for the podcast. It's the Rundown with Rob, up every day at 5 o'clock. Very easy to have in your pocket. You can listen whenever you want. It's right there ready to go. Also, blog pages up at foxsportsradio1400.com. We'll have the press conferences and all of that up there for you tomorrow. Until then, would they give me only 1 hour? I wish I had more, but we'll be back at it tomorrow here on the Rundown. This is Fox Sports Radio 1400. I'm serious, Megan. I'll buy you Outback Bowl tickets. Y'all end up at the Outback Bowl. I'll buy you tickets. Which I expect you to set on fire. All right, y'all. Appreciate it, man. Y'all have a great day. We'll see you later on.